Hey, what's going on, Ramley? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sports. This is your daily dose of Los Angeles Rams news. If you have not already, please hit that like and subscribe button here at the Rams LAFB YouTube channel. You can also find us on audio platforms at the Rams Skinny or all of your Rams content at LAFBnetwork.com. Joining me as always, my better half, Mr. Skinny T. What is up, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's always great to talk football with you. Happy to be here. Living the dream.
Yeah. Football's almost back officially. It's funny. The offseason always feels so long and yet so short at the same time. It doesn't feel that long ago we were watching the Rams in Philadelphia, but it's like at the same time, it feels like forever ago we were watching the Rams in Philadelphia. It's very odd.
Yeah. I don't know if it's COVID or what, but like my brain now feels like yesterday was a million days ago, but also like 10 minutes ago. So my memory is all shot. All like my perception of time is, I'm not the first person to talk about it. It is a phenomenon since COVID, but I don't know if that's exactly what it is. But
we're living in Inception, that great movie, right? With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Is that a DiCaprio?
DiCaprio, yeah. Inception.
Right on.
Still the trippiest ending that everyone has different like beliefs on what that ending is with the spinning top. Like, is that reality or is that still in the dream world? Like, I haven't watched the movie in so long. That's a good flick.
I think I am. I'm in a dream world. I don't know if this is real or not.
We're just in a dream world.
Talking to Todd Gurley some days.
Yeah.
Banging my head against the wall other days. I don't know.
Yeah. Some days is a dream world. Some days is a nightmare world. I guess. Speaking of nightmares, speaking of dreams, are we ready to get on the Tutu train? All aboard the Tutu train? Tutu Atwell?
I've gotten off. I've canceled my subscription.
It's been a winding cross-country train ride with a lot of stops and whether we should continue on or get off for good. But one analyst out there, based on her findings, maybe we'll have people excited to get back on the Tutu train. I'm going to let my man Skinny T break it down. But all off season, when the Rams decided to part ways with Cooper Kupp and then bring in Davante Adams, most of the talk was, all right, Davante Adams is a clear replacement for Cooper Kupp. The guy can play inside, similar size, similar skill set, can also play outside, obviously has a lot of experience. But maybe in reality, Skinny, they already had the Cooper Kupp replacement on the roster. Well, they did have to re-sign him to the tune of $10 million, but he had been in the building already. Davante Adams maybe was brought in to be a different skill set to play true X receiver on the outside. We know Puka is kind of a do-it-all, jack of all trades, can play all over. And perhaps Tutu Atwell was the missing piece that will take the place of what Cooper Kupp did so well in the offense. Defend this notion, Skinny T. I'm not even saying you believe it, but defend it based on this analysis.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we were scratching our heads. He wasn't used that much. Obviously, we saw the speed. We knew that could be a thing. Made some good catches here and there. But are there underlying reasons for re-signing? Is there a bigger reason, I guess, to re-sign a guy like Tutu Atwell, who we know Sean McVay loves dearly? And so a fantastic analyst over at PFF named Lauren Gray, doing the Lord's work, to be honest with you, by grading all the receivers by their different routes that they excel in, and also at who's getting open, where and when. And Tutu Atwell surprisingly tops the list in a couple of these categories. So his specialty route, he is the highest rated receiver when it comes to comeback routes. He was graded at a 92 by PFF, beating out Terry McLaurin and Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's his route. So all of them went for explosive gains. So I don't know exactly what that means. The comeback route is one of the lower used routes in the NFL right now. But if you got something, if you bring something to the table that, that provides an answer for the offense for sure. So if he's turning comeback routes into explosive plays at a high rate, if he gets targeted more, if he's more included, that provides something intriguing. Now, perhaps even more intriguing is he had the greatest amount of separation other than two receivers. Marvin Mims, he was the highest graded receiver with 2 or more steps of separation. Then Khalil Shakir, and then Tutu Atwell. He was the third highest grade there. So that's obviously where that speed comes into focus, is he's able to get open. So, he's beating out guys like Zay Flowers and Demario Douglas and Stephon Diggs. And, it creates, starts to paint a picture of like, we know what this guy can actually do, what he can actually bring to the table. Now, the mystery has always been, well, why don't we see that manifested more? But there is some evidence that given the opportunity, he can excel at a high rate. He still kind of falls into that gadget receiver kind of category, but at least there's evidence out there for the Tutu Train getting back on track, being a big part of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a reason that they brought him back, and it wasn't just, it couldn't have been, or it would have been terrible business, just the idea of what could be. There had to be a true plan, and maybe that plan was more likely to be carried out now that Cooper Kupp is no longer there, which would give Tutu more opportunities. Now, obviously, they went and signed and paid $20 million to Davante Adams, so you now have the similar amount of reps to split. Now that you lost Cooper, you still have Adams, but I do think they're going to do a little bit different stuff. When you look back at the history of Tutu Atwell, there's a reason he was drafted first by the Rams in the second round. I mean, he had almost 1,300 yards receiving his sophomore years at Louisville. So the dude can be productive in offense. Now, obviously, the college game is much different than the pro game. But when utilized correctly, he could certainly be someone that can create success. And I love that you brought up Marvin Mims. Now, obviously, that was based on that statistic you mentioned, but Marvin Mims had I'll call it a breakout season, just his second year last year. He's now his second year in the Sean Payton offense over in Denver. But the way that they used him and the way Bo Nix leaned on him with a lot of screen game, with a lot of, I don't want to say short yardage, but so where Marvin Mims really made his cup of tea last year. I don't know how many Bronco games you watched, Skinny T, or how many of our Ramley watched. He had 6 touchdowns, so nothing like astronomical, but a lot of those came within the red zone, kind of getting him in space on little short, either screen routes or just little short comebacks, like you were talking about with Tutu Atwell, getting him in space, and he was able to jet through and get touchdowns. We know how much the Rams struggled in the red zone last year. And when many people think of Tutu Atwell, they think of a burner that's going to get you a 70-yard go route touchdown. Maybe, Skinny, based on this data, is he actually should be utilized a lot more within the red zone, because if they can just get him a little bit in space, he can help solve those red zone woes. Now, we'll see if that comes to fruition. We'll be out training camp, hopefully, so we'll see if that's utilized at all in those practice sets. But if you watch Marvin Mims' game, it's a copycat league. If Sean McVay can replicate that a bit with Tutu Atwell, who's a similar build, little lighter frame, but probably a little faster, there's a definite enhancement to this offense that they've been lacking, because guys like Cooper Kupp, as good as he was, didn't have that speed to where being in the red zone, get open, but they were going to be tackled fairly quickly. Tutu Atwell maybe can get that and be able to weave in and out and get into the end zone. Just anyone out there listening or watching, throw on some Marvin Mims highlights and you'll see what I'm talking about. But they would just literally little dump pass almost to like a running back, and he would, I think he had 4 touchdowns like that last year. So based on that data you're saying, I think could prove that to be valid.
Yeah, and if you look at kind of Tutu Atwell's, limited amount of involvement in the offense, he mirrored Kupp a lot in the routes that they would have him run. So obviously there was an inkling of an idea there, And, talking about the red zone, that's one thing they really struggled with last year. Lots of help going towards that. Davante is going to help that. The tight ends are going to help that. But I think Tutu Atwell can also help on third downs as well, which is where they really struggled last year. So Lauren Gray points out that Tutu Atwell moved the chains 30 times and recorded 17 gains of 15 plus yards. 10 of those catches were 20 or more yards. So there's some explosive ability in there. And I think without Cooper Kupp in there, when they are running the 11 personnel, which is going to be more traditional 11 personnel than what they had been running because of the physicality of both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and going back to Robert Woods as well, in that more traditional 11 personnel, when Tutu Atwell is probably going to be on the field. I mean, look to those plays, because 12 personnel is going to go up, 11 personnel, it's still in the DNA. So I think we're going to see Tutu Atwell kind of in that Cooper Kupp role. And going back to what I was saying about third down, I mean, that's going to be super valuable if he's able to turn those, passing downs on third down, you're 5-6 yards. If he's able to take like a short comeback for a big gain, that explosiveness, is going to be super valuable, because you're not just converting a third down, you're setting yourself up in a much better position to score with those explosive plays.
What to you, and we'll end with this. What would be a successful season for Tutu Atwell statistically? Now, he's on a 1-year deal, 1 year, $10 million. So obviously needs to show something in order to get another extension. And I think the Rams demonstrated that they believe he has the ability, and they believe he brings in the offense by making him, like, what we say, it was like the 20 or the 19th highest paid receiver, making $10 million a year. However, it was just a 1-year deal. So it's a prove it deal. Like, hey, okay, we believe in you, but we're not giving you a 3 or 4 year deal. Last year finished with over 500 yards, his best season to date. What do you think he needs to do this year to warrant not only that contract, but an extension?
I think he's just got to, carve out a place for himself on the roster. I mean, that's kind of why I thought he wouldn't get a second contract, is because there was never a clear role for him on this team. So I think in terms of production, being in that 500 plus yards, 700 yards, but watch the first downs too. If he's able to convert any time into first downs, I mean, that's super valuable to this team, especially with a bunch of other guys pulling focus away from him. So he's just got to get on the field and be super consistent. So I think if I wanted to put it like a exact amount of yards on it, 700 yards. If it's 700 yards, you look around the league, you look at a lot of 700-yard receivers, those guys get contracts because they're useful. They provide something for the team, even if he's just a master of one route, which he's got more than that for sure. But even if that's the case, it's like you got a place on this roster.
So I'll go a little different angle, and I'm going to go more look at his touchdown production. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. We know about Adams. They drafted Terrence Ferguson. They got a bunch of guys coming back. So Puka Nacua, obviously, and then you have the running back stable. So there's only so many touchdowns, so many yards to go around. But everything that we've talked about so far in this segment, I think he can potentially become that guy to help their red zone woes, because the red zone was just abysmal last year. I mean, they would have beaten the Bears had they been somewhat competent in the red zone. There was probably 2 or 3 games that they would have won had they been somewhat efficient in the red zone, not settling for field goals or going for it on fourth down and not converting. And he's not a guy that I think many would think, because of his size and stature, you're thinking like a big tight end, you're thinking a big bruising back. That's who's going to help your red zone. I think this is a situation where perhaps he can actually be the antidote to their red zone woes. So I'm saying 5+ touchdowns. The dude has only had 4 touchdowns total in his career, had 0 last year in 24. So if he can get 5+ touchdowns, and, as long as he gets around 500 yards, if it's a little less, that's fine. But if he's putting up 35 points by himself, then I think that's a successful season that you can build off of. So I'll put it at that. 5+ touchdowns.
Love it. Tutu Train. Here we go. Back on it.
Tutu Train.
What am I doing? I'm back on this.
Oh, we're on, baby. We're on.
I got to call customer service.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're on. We're on for at least 2025, baby. The Tutu Train rolls on, steams through the port of Los Angeles. How do you guys feel about the Tutu Train? Are you optimistic? Based on stuff we've talked about before, everyone's kind of bewildered as to why he was re-signed, why he's back. So maybe hopefully we provided some insight, some excitement as like peeling the onions back of like, okay, maybe this was a smart signing. We got to see it play out. But let us know what you guys think. Comment below if you're on YouTube. If you're watching on LAFB.com, you can comment right below as well. Hit us up on X at Ryan Dowd LAFB, at RL Anderson LAFB, or just at LAFB Network. As I said, you can find us on any of the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify. Just search the Rams Skinny, and obviously on YouTube, Rams LAFB. Please hit that like and subscribe button. For Skinny T, I am Ryan Dowd. We'll be back soon with plenty more Rams talk. This is the Rams Skinny.